Listen to this every morning and take back control of your life. Each morning, before the day begins to demand something from you, there is a brief moment when your mind is still your own. That moment often passes unnoticed. The phone is checked, the news is opened, messages arrive, expectations formed, and before long, your inner state is no longer directed by reason, but by whatever happens to reach you first. This is not a personal failure. It is the condition of modern life. The world is loud, fast, and indifferent to your peace of mind. It rewards reaction, not judgment. It encourages urgency without clarity and emotion without reflection over time. This weakens the ability to remain steady, to think clearly, and act with intention. Stoicism begins here, not with abstract philosophy, but with a simple recognition. You do not control the world, but you do control your judgments about it. Everything else follows from this distinction. When it is ignored, life feels chaotic and overwhelming. When it is practiced, life becomes simpler, even when circumstances are difficult. This is not about suppressing emotion or retreating from responsibility. It is about placing your effort where it belongs. It is about learning to meet events without panic, criticism without collapse, and uncertainty without fear. It is about regaining authority over your own mind. If you listen carefully, not as entertainment, but as training, this practice can become a daily reminder of what matters and what does not. Not to make life easy, but to make you capable. Not to avoid hardship, but to face it without losing yourself. For the next few minutes, you are not required to agree with anything you hear. You are only asked to listen with attention and to consider whether your current way of living truly serves your peace, your character, and your time on this earth. The greatest source of strain in modern life is not the volume of tasks or the speed of events. It is the constant confusion about where control truly lies. Most people wake up already tense, already braced for resistance, because their attention is aimed outward before it is anchored inward. They measure the day by outcomes they cannot guarantee and reactions they cannot manage. The Stoics observed this same error long before screens, algorithms, or global news cycles existed. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the mind troubles itself far more than reality ever does. The events of the day are neutral. It is judgment that gives them weight. When this is forgotten, every inconvenience feels personal, every obstacle feels unfair, and every delay feels like a threat. Consider how easily anger appears when someone behaves poorly. The assumption underneath the anger is that the world owes you better conduct. When this expectation is violated, the mind reacts with outrage, yet the behavior of others has never been under your control. It never will be. The mistake is not that people disappoint you. The mistake is believing they were required not to. The same pattern appears with anxiety about the future. You plan, you prepare, and then you mentally live inside outcomes that have not occurred. You rehearse loss, embarrassment, failure, and regret as if they were certainty. The body responds as if danger is present, even though nothing has happened. The Stoics called this suffering in advance, and they warned against it, not because the future is irrelevant, but because fear is a poor guide. Control, in the Stoic sense, is narrow. It includes your judgments, your intentions, and your actions. It excludes results, timing, recognition, and other people's opinions. This distinction is not meant to diminish ambition or responsibility. It is meant to protect clarity. When you invest emotional energy in what lies outside your authority, you trade peace for illusion. Modern life constantly invites this trade. Performance metrics, social comparison, public approval, and endless commentary all encourage the belief that your worth is decided externally. When praise comes, confidence rises. When criticism appears, self-respect collapses. The Stoic position is not indifference, but independence. You are to act well, not to be seen acting well. At work, this means focusing on the quality of your effort, rather than the certainty of reward. You prepare thoroughly, speak honestly, and act with competence. Whether the outcome favors you is not guaranteed. To demand that it must is to invite bitterness. Seneca warned that no one is more miserable than the person who insists reality conform to their preferences. In relationships, the same discipline applies. You can offer patience, clarity, and goodwill. You cannot force understanding, loyalty, or gratitude. When you attempt to control these, you become anxious and resentful. When you release them, you gain composure. This does not make you passive, it makes you measured. Even in small daily frustrations, the Stoic distinction restores balance. Traffic delays, technical failures, interruptions, and mistakes are not insults. They are features of life. To treat them as moral offenses is to exhaust yourself unnecessarily. Epictetus taught that it is not events that disturb us, but our opinions about them. This is not a comforting phrase, it is a demanding one. It requires constant vigilance over the mind. This vigilance begins in the morning. Before engaging with the world, you quietly remind yourself that you will encounter impatience, ignorance, and unpredictability, not as a complaint, but as preparation. When these things appear, they do not shock you. They confirm what you already knew. This reduces emotional reactivity and preserves dignity. The Stoic does not deny emotion. They observe it. Anger, fear, and desire arise automatically. What matters is whether you grant them authority. When the mind immediately endorses every feeling as truth, life becomes unstable. When feelings are examined before being acted upon, stability returns. Modern culture often mistakes emotional expression for authenticity. Stoicism disagrees. Authenticity is alignment with reason and values, not the unchecked release of impulse. A calm response is not dishonesty, it is discipline. To pause before reacting is not weakness, it is strength that has been trained. This training is difficult because it runs against habit. Habit favors reaction. Habit prefers comfort. Habit resists restraint. The Stoics accepted this difficulty as part of the work. They did not expect peace to arrive without effort. They expected resistance, both internal and external. When you begin to practice control of judgment, you may feel as though life is becoming harder, not easier. This is temporary. You are becoming aware of impulses that were previously automatic. Awareness precedes mastery. Without it, nothing changes. There will be days when you fail to remain composed. You will speak too quickly, judge too harshly, or worry unnecessarily. Stoicism does not ask for perfection. It asks for correction. Each moment offers another chance to return to reason. Self-reproach is unnecessary. Self-observation is sufficient. The world will continue to pressure you to care about what is not yours to command. News cycles will dramatize uncertainty. Social platforms will magnify comparison. Work environments will reward visibility over integrity. Against this current, Stoic practice is an active, quiet resistance. You are not required to withdraw from life to live this way. You are required to participate with clarity, to act without attachment to outcome, to speak without needing approval, to plan without fearing change, to accept difficulty without surrendering self-command. When control is placed where it belongs, the mind becomes steadier, not because circumstances improve, but because judgment improves. This is the foundation. Without it, no further Stoic practice holds. With it, even difficult days become manageable. As the day moves forward, remember that nothing you will encounter has the power to damage your character unless you allow it. Events can inconvenience you, challenge you, or delay you. They cannot degrade you without your cooperation. This understanding does not make you invulnerable, it makes you grounded, and grounding is the beginning of freedom. Much of what unsettles the modern mind does not come from pain, but from desire. Not basic needs, but constant wanting. Wanting more recognition, more comfort, more certainty, more reassurance. Desire, when left unexamined, becomes a quiet tyrant. It promises satisfaction, but delivers restlessness. The Stoics understood that desire is not evil, but it must be trained. An untrained desire expands endlessly. It adapts to whatever you gain and immediately asks for more. This is why achievement so often fails to bring peace. The mind quickly adjusts its expectations upward, and the sense of lack returns. The problem was never the absence of success. It was the belief that success would settle the mind. Modern life amplifies this pattern. You are constantly shown what others appear to have: better bodies, clearer purpose, easier lives, louder praise. Comparison becomes automatic. Without realizing it, you begin to measure your worth against curated fragments of other people's lives. The result is quiet dissatisfaction, even when nothing is actually wrong. Stoicism treats this not as a social issue, but as a judgment error. You assume that what others possess is necessary for your contentment. You assume that being seen, admired, or validated is a requirement for a good life. These assumptions are rarely examined, yet they shape behavior, priorities, and self-respect. Epictetus warned that anyone who depends on external approval places their peace in the hands of strangers. This dependence is subtle. It hides behind ambition, self-improvement, and even creativity. The question is not whether you act, but why you act. If the motive is to secure praise or avoid disapproval, freedom is already compromised. Desire also binds itself to identity. You begin to think of yourself as someone who must be successful, must be admired, must not fall behind. When identity is attached to outcomes, fear grows. Failure no longer means a setback. It means a threat to who you believe you are. From this fear comes overwork, anxiety, and resentment. Stoic restraint offers a different approach. It does not ask you to want nothing. It asks you to want what depends on you, to value effort over outcome, to value character over status, to value sufficiency over excess. This shift is not dramatic. It is quiet and deliberate. When you practice this, you begin to notice how many desires were inherited rather than chosen. Many ambitions were absorbed from culture, family, or peers without reflection. Stoicism invites you to ask whether these desires align with a life you can respect, even if no one is watching. This applies directly to consumption. Modern systems are built on dissatisfaction. They thrive when you feel incomplete. Stoic practice interrupts this cycle by redefining enough. Enough is not deprivation. It is clarity. It is knowing when additional pleasure adds nothing meaningful, and when restraint preserves dignity. Ego resists this clarity. Ego wants distinction. It wants to be special, admired, and above others. The Stoics did not deny ego's presence. They denied its authority. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that fame is fleeting, Memory is unreliable, and even the most celebrated lives dissolve into obscurity. This was not written to diminish life, but to free it from unnecessary pressure. When you stop demanding that life confirm your importance, you begin to act more honestly. You speak more carefully. You listen more fully. You accept correction without collapse. You work without needing constant recognition. This does not make you invisible. It makes you internally stable. Attachment also extends to comfort. The avoidance of discomfort weakens the mind. When every inconvenience feels unacceptable, resilience erodes. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort, not as punishment, but as preparation. They reminded themselves that comfort is pleasant, but not essential. When comfort becomes a requirement, fear follows close behind. In modern terms, this means not panicking when plans change, when routines break, or when uncertainty appears. It means resisting the urge to pirouetely escape boredom, silence, or mild difficulty. These moments are not enemies, they are training ground. Social pressure intensifies all of this. Opinions circulate rapidly. Outrage is rewarded. Conformity feels safer than independent judgment. Stoicism asks for courage here. Not loud defiance, but quiet refusal to surrender. Reason. You are not obligated to react to every issue or adopt every stance. Silence, when chosen deliberately, is not cowardice. It is restraint. This restraint protects the mind from fragmentation. When attention is scattered across endless concerns, depth is lost. Stoicism narrows focus to what is essential: how you think, how you act, and how you treat others. Everything else becomes secondary. As desire quiets, space opens. Not emptiness, but room for steadiness. You begin to notice that peace was not missing. It was crowded out. Crowded by unnecessary wanting, comparison, and self-importance. This does not remove ambition. It refines it. You still pursue goals, but without desperation. You still improve, but without contempt for the present. You still care, but without attachment that destroys balance. The disciplined mind is not one that has eliminated desire, but one that has placed it under reason. This discipline does not announce itself. It shows in composure, patience, and consistency. It shows when nothing is gained and nothing is lost, yet you remain yourself. In this way, Stoicism offers not escape from the world, but freedom within it. There are moments when control, restraint, and disciplined desire are not enough to shield you from pain. Loss arrives, injustice occurs, illness interrupts plans, people leave, effort fails. These moments expose the limits of preference and preparation. They are where Stoicism is most often misunderstood, because they cannot be solved. They must be endured. The Stoics never promised that virtue would protect you from suffering. They promised that it protect you from being ruined by it. This distinction matters. Pain is a condition of being human. Collapse is a judgment about pain. One can experience grief, disappointment, or hardship without surrendering clarity or dignity. Modern culture often treats suffering as an error. Something has gone wrong. Someone must be blamed. Something must be fixed immediately. This mindset intensifies distress. When pain is viewed as unacceptable, it becomes unbearable. Stoicism removes this additional weight by acknowledging reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. Fate, in the Stoic sense, is not a mystical force deciding outcomes arbitrarily. It is the recognition that events arise from causes beyond your command. You did not choose the era you were born into, the body you inhabit, or many of the circumstances that shape your life. Resisting these facts does not change them. It only creates friction. Acceptance, as the Stoics taught it, is not resignation. It is alignment. You align your expectations with reality. Rather than demanding reality, align with your expectations. This alignment reduces unnecessary suffering and preserves energy for what remains possible. When injustice occurs, this perspective is tested. Anger often feels justified, and sometimes it is understandable. But Stoicism asks whether anger improves judgment or clouds it, whether it leads to effective action or consumes the mind without result. You can oppose wrongdoing without allowing bitterness to dominate your inner state. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is not to become like the wrongdoer. This is not moral superiority. It is self-preservation. When you allow resentment to shape your character, the harm spreads inward. You are damaged twice, once by the event, and again by your reaction to it. Mortality sharpens all of this. The awareness that life is finite can provoke fear, denial, or distraction. Stoicism approaches it directly, not to depress the mind, but to clarify priorities. When you remember that time is limited, trivial concerns lose their grip. You become more selective about where attention is spent. Death, in Stoic thought, is not a punishment or a catastrophe. It is a natural conclusion. Everything that begins must end. Resisting this truth does not extend life. It only diminishes presence. When mortality is acknowledged calmly, life becomes more deliberate. This does not remove grief when loss occurs. Stoics grieved. They mourned friends, family, and even their own failing bodies. What they avoided was despair that erased meaning. Grief is love encountering absence. Despair is the belief that absence invalidates what was lived. In moments of uncertainty, the mind often demands guarantees, assurance that things will improve, proof that suffering has a reason. Stoicism offers neither. It offers steadiness instead, the reminder that you can meet whatever comes without abandoning your values. This steadiness is built through repeated reflection. You remind yourself that difficulty is not personal, that misfortune is not evidence of failure, that strength is not the absence of pain, but the refusal to be defined by it. Modern life often encourages distraction from discomfort. Endless content, stimulation, and noise provide temporary relief, but avoidance weakens tolerance. When discomfort inevitably returns, it feels overwhelming. Stoic endurance is not numbness. It is familiarity. You have faced discomfort before. You will face it again, and each time you remain capable. Impermanence underlies all of this. Nothing you experience is fixed. Pleasure fades, pain shifts, circumstances change. This is not a threat. It is a reminder not to cling too tightly to any state. When you understand that both good and bad conditions pass, you respond with moderation rather than panic. This understanding also softens fear of the future. You do not know what will come, but you know who you are training yourself to be. Character becomes the constant amid change. It travels with you through success and failure, health and illness, recognition and obscurity. Stoicism does not promise comfort. It promises coherence. Your actions align with your values. Your judgments align with reality. Your expectations align with what is possible. From this coherence comes a quiet confidence, not optimism, but trust in your capacity to respond. When suffering arrives, you are not required to like it. You are required only not to surrender reason. You continue to act justly. You continue to speak truthfully. You continue to care where care is appropriate. You do not add self-pity to pain or fantasy to fear. This posture does not make you invincible. It makes you reliable to yourself. And in a world defined by uncertainty, reliability is strength. As life continues to unfold, events will test this discipline. Some days you will meet them well. Other days you will falter. Stoicism does not record these as victories and failures. It sees them as practice. Each moment offers another opportunity to return to steadiness. And this return, again and again, is where resilience is built. Each morning you return to this way of thinking. You are not seeking motivation or reassurance. You are training judgment. You are reminding yourself that clarity is chosen, not granted, that calm is practiced, not stuccoed by chance. Stoicism does not remove difficulty from life. It removes confusion about what difficulty means. It teaches you to meet the day without illusion, without unnecessary fear, and without surrendering authority over your own mind. This is not a philosophy for exceptional people. It is a discipline for ordinary days lived with attention. There will always be noise. There will always be pressure to react, compare, and conform. You cannot eliminate these forces. You can decide how much influence they are given. Each time you pause before judging, each time you choose restraint over impulse, each time you accept what cannot be changed without resentment, you strengthen the part of yourself that remains steady under strain. This steadiness does not make life smaller. It makes it clearer. You become less distracted by what does not matter and more present with what does. You waste less time resisting reality and more time acting within it. You learn to value integrity over comfort, understanding over approval, and consistency over intensity. The Stoics never believed that wisdom was achieved once or all. They believed it was returned to daily, forgotten and remembered, lost and recovered. This repetition is not failure, it is the work. If this way of seeing the world brings you even a moment of clarity, return to it. Let it accompany you into ordinary mornings, difficult conversations, quiet evenings, and uncertain futures, not as a shield against life, but as a guide through it. If you choose to continue walking this path, you are welcome to return here regularly, not to be inspired, but to be reminded, not to escape the world, but to meet it with reason, restraint, and calm attention. The practice continues wherever you are willing to carry it.